Hello guys, welcome to AMC Prep Talks. So today the topic of our video is recurrent UTI, and we are going to cover the recurrent UTI in pregnancy and in non-pregnant adults. And recurrent UTI is also a very common problem that is faced by many people. So the 2 or more episodes of UTI during pregnancy is considered as recurrent UTI in pregnancy. And in this case, antibiotic prophylaxis is recommended, and most of the times the UTI is triggered by intercourse. So there is a recommendation of intermittent postcoital prophylaxis, which is done with nitrofurantoin or cephalexin and single dose within 2 hours of the intercourse. So this is the intermittent postcoital prophylaxis. Then we have the continuous prophylaxis in other patients who do not have the trigger of UTI after the intercourse. In these patients, we have to give the continuous prophylaxis, cephalexin at night and once daily at night for the remainder of the pregnancy, or nitrofurantoin. We can give these two drugs, cephalexin or nitrofurantoin. Then we have recurrent UTI in non-pregnant adults. 2 or more episodes of symptomatic infection within 6 months is termed as the recurrent UTI in non-pregnant adults. So within 6 months, the time duration is within 6 months, or 3 or more UTI in last 12 months, where at least one episode has been confirmed by midstream culture and microscopy. So if the patient is complaining of recurrent UTI, we have to consider other differential diagnoses like sexually transmitted infections, vaginal prolapse, or benign prostatic hyperplasia. It may impair bladder emptying, and a broader range of pathogens can present. And if the epidemiology suggests schistosomiasis and TB can also be present. In males, chronic bacterial prostatitis is also a common cause of recurrent UTI. So investigation is to be done with cystoscopy or imaging when there is relapsing infection with same pathogen. We have to look for the source of infection, that is, if there is any abscess or stone present in the renal tract. So if the same infection, if the same organism keeps coming, we have to look for the source of the infection. And cystoscopy or imaging is also necessary when the second episode of pyelonephritis is within 12 months. So there's 2 episodes of pyelonephritis in a year. So we have to rule out other causes through imaging. So the management would be a patient-initiated treatment can also be used when there is the recurrent UTI. The patient can manage at home, and only if that is the non-pregnant adult female, patient can easily recognize symptoms, and we have to give the medical review if symptoms do not resolve within 48 hours. So most of the times when the UTI are recurrent, patients can manage themselves at home. And there are 2 kinds of treatment management. That is, the non-antibiotic strategies are recommended first. If the patient is male, we have to refer him to urologist for non-antibiotic treatment and evaluation for prostatic disease. Because in males, the UTIs are not common, but in females, the UTI are common. But in males, if the UTI is recurrent, we have to evaluate for the cause. So what is the non-antibiotic strategies to decrease the number of recurrence, decrease the number of UTI? That is increasing water intake up to 1.5 liter in premenopausal women, and intravaginal estrogen in the postmenopausal women. Meta-anamine hypurate can also be used. So postcoital prophylaxis is also given in the patients with recurrent UTI, which is associated with intercourse, and most commonly the patient gets the symptoms of UTI after the intercourse. So there are 2 kinds of prophylaxis. Intermittent prophylaxis is with nitrofurantoin, trimethoprim, or cephalexin. The patient can take it within 2 hours of intercourse. Then we have continuous prophylaxis, and it's just for 6 months and once daily at night. That is with the trimethoprim, cephalexin, or nitrofurantoin, the same drugs. And so this is the treatment of recurrent UTI, which is associated with intercourse. Intermittent prophylaxis given when the trigger is intercourse, and continuous prophylaxis is given when there is when we have to treat the recurrent UTI. Then we have another thing, and another very important point, that is the nitrofurantoin, because nitrofurantoin is commonly used for the treatment of UTI. But make sure to know that long-term nitrofurantoin is associated with adverse effects that are pulmonary toxicity and hepatotoxicity and peripheral neuropathy. So these are the side effects of nitrofurantoin when it is used frequently for the longer duration. So in this case, we have to monitor spirometry, LFTs, and kidney function test, especially when the patient is administered or patient is given nitrofurantoin for longer durations. Now we have another topic, that is the catheter-associated UTI. So the diagnosis of catheter-associated UTI is made when the catheterized patient is having new onset of fever, flank pain, acute hematuria, or pelvic discomfort, acute mental deterioration, which is in the absence of other known causes. So in this patient, we can diagnose a catheter-associated UTI. Now, keep in mind that bacteriuria, cloudy or malodorous urine, pyuria, these are not the reliable signs alone. The patient has to have the symptoms for the catheter-associated UTI to be diagnosed, and then and only when the patient has symptoms of UTI, then we have to perform the investigations. Do not perform investigation in patients with non-specific symptoms. So when we have suspected supporting signs, we have to investigate the patient with microscopy and culture. And removal of the catheter is preferred because it can lead to the open infection with resistant organism. And catheter-associated UTI is caused by the same organisms with other UTI, and the management is also same. But keep in mind that the removal of the catheter is necessary. Then we have the urinary stents. Patients who have urinary stents for certain causes, for certain diseases. So in these patients, the frequency of UTI is also increased. So the management is similar to catheter-associated UTI principle, and diagnosis is difficult in urinary and the patients with UTI, and they have the urinary stents. So urinary stents cause symptoms similar to those associated with UTI. Normally, the patient would complain of frequency, urgency, dysuria, and pain. Urinalysis will often detect leukocyte esterase, blood, and protein without UTI. So the patients who have stents, the urinalysis can usually detect these things. So these are not the diagnostic for UTI. And if the patient has a fever which is not defined by any other cause, so and no other cause is in the absence of other causes, so we can say that the patient has UTI due to urinary stents. And likewise, the catheter-associated UTI, the antibiotic is transiently affected with a stent in place. So the chance of resistance is higher when the patient have a stent, and the antibiotic is transiently affected. So that's it for the UTI topics, and the UTI, I have completed my UTI topic in these 2 weeks. So if you like my videos, kindly share among your colleagues, subscribe my channel, and like my video. Thank you.